So Joe Biden goes to Maui. It took him 2 weeks to get there. And of course, he makes a total fool of himself. I mean, nobody should be surprised at this point that this man is a total idiot. He gets there and it's always about Joe Biden, like in true psychopath, sociopathic form. He gets up there and he tells the Maui residents how he suffered something similar in his Delaware home when, he had a kitchen fire that was put out in 20 minutes. This is typical Joe Biden. According to him, his son died and was a soldier and died in the war with a coffin with a flag draped over, American flag draped over it. Meanwhile, his son died of cancer. According to Joe Biden, he grew up in the black church. According to Joe Biden, he grew up in the Puerto Rican neighborhood. It's just, it's just typical Joe Biden. Wherever he goes, he just lies. It's all about votes. It's all about how can I act like, I somehow relate to you. Just lie after lie after lie. The guy is a total piece of garbage. He's a human dumpster fire. And, it just, you shouldn't, this should surprise nobody that he acts like this and that he talks like this. I mean, this is what Joe Biden does. It's just his way of getting votes all the time. He's just a man of the people. Meanwhile, his son didn't die in the military war. He never grew up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. He never grew up in the black church. He didn't graduate first in his class. They asked him about these fires for the last few weeks, and all he said was no comment twice. That's because he's a moron and he can't think and he doesn't have a teleprompter to tell him what to say. A lot of the Maui residents, when he was driving by, were giving him the finger and holding up signs that he's late and it took him 2 weeks, etc., etc. Then he goes to a meeting, basically, with all the residents and FEMA people and government people, and he falls asleep. During the middle of the meeting, he falls asleep. It's typical Joe. It's time to retire, Joe. You've been a crook, a criminal, a lying racist your whole life. It's time to pack it in, Joe. You are corrupt to your core. You're a sociopath. And you know what? Joe Biden's wife is even worse than him. This lady is true garbage to her core. Propping her husband up like Weekend at Bernie's, telling everybody that his health is fine. Everybody knows his health isn't fine, and his wife is making a skeptical out of him just so they can retain power, because behind the scenes, she's the one that runs the show. The Biden crime family is total garbage. All of them. When we look back in history, when America was sold out to our enemies, when we handed over American sovereignty to our enemies, when we look back on this, it would be a senile, racist pervert that sniffs little girls' hair, that shits in his pants, that is a complete sociopath, lying, manipulating, well, he thinks he's manipulating anyway, just garbage human being, and his junkie son basically sold our entire country out to our enemies so they could profit. And it's just amazing what's going on in this country right now, right? Let's just say hypothetically that Donald Trump was guilty of everything they said. Let's just say hypothetically he was guilty, right? Let's say every single thing that he was guilty. Are you really going to look me in the face and you're going to stick to that the Bidens aren't corrupt? That the Bidens haven't committed mass amounts of crime, criminal activity, money laundering, extortion, the RICO Act, espionage. They had the FBI agent Ray Epps at January 6th, stirring up the crowd, having them go into the Capitol building and create a riot. Isn't that what Trump's on trial for, allegedly? So how come Ray Epps hasn't been brought to justice yet? How come Ray Epps hasn't been arrested and prosecuted and charged? Liberals at this point, they have corrupted everything that they touch. They have ruined every major city in America with crime. They have ruined our school system. Everything that they touch, they ruin. Sports, they with the political correctness and worrying about sports teams' names that are allegedly insulting. Every single thing that liberalism touches, they destroy, and that's a fact. All around the country, you're having mass amounts of police just quit the job all at once and leaving the town that they work in with no officers left because nobody can deal with liberalism. It's a mental disorder, and you can chalk it up to whatever you want, but it is a mental disorder. This is the party where in America you have to be 18 to 21 years old to do everything, to drink, to get a tattoo, to buy tobacco, to drive, to own a firearm. But this is the party that thinks it's okay to have child groomers all across America in classrooms with kindergartners, approach your kindergartner and let this man dressed as a woman approach your child and talk about his sexual preferences with your kids. And then when they're groomed and they want to change gender, liberals came up with laws where the parents of these children don't have to be notified. Like, are you completely insane? Are you completely out of your effing mind? This is what liberals stand for: chaos, madness, lies, manipulation. If this was Ukraine, do you think it would have took Joe Biden 2 weeks to get to Ukraine? No, he would have been there in a heartbeat. That's his corrupt business partner. So poor Joe, he had to leave his $18 million vacation home to go to Maui for 5 hours and sit there and make it all about him instead of the people that are suffering. There are 800 people confirmed dead. 814 people confirmed dead, and there's still 1,000 people missing. And of course, psychopath, sociopath, Joe Biden goes to Maui, makes it all about himself, telling his pathetic story that he does. Him and Jill, they're just for the people, right? Give me a break. These politicians in this country, they care more about illegals. They care more about other countries. They care more about foreign lands than they do for Americans and America. They could care less about any of us. All we are people who pay taxes so they can take all their social programs that fail, keep half the money, and then you basically waste the other half with all their ridiculous, stupid ideas. Joe Biden is a total piece of garbage human being, and I don't know how anybody at this point can support him. It's almost comical that nobody's allowed to even talk about the last election. I have to be careful with my words because my YouTube channel will get shut down if I talk about the last election in a certain way. I mean, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute disgrace. Joe Biden and his cabinet are weaponizing the FBI. They're weaponizing the DOJ. They're weaponizing the CIA. And anybody that has different political views or aspirations or goals is now the target. If they can't win fair, they'll just have you arrested and locked up, or they'll just do other things that I can't say on camera, obviously. But remember to subscribe to Fortis Money.